Good morning, guys. Just a quick update here. I was asked to do a video on hormones, particularly cortisol and high cortisol levels. A lot of people have really off the chart high cortisol levels, and it's good to learn how you can manage those levels. And baby here knows all about cortisol and being stressed out. And so thought I would talk to you about that. So what is cortisol? It is a hormone that's released by the adrenal glands, and it is originally there for dealing with very high stress situations. If you're getting chased by a lion, for example, your body dumps a bunch of cortisol into your system with adrenaline and helps you escape a situation. It's a part of the fight or flight response that we have. But the problem is that so many people in everyday life in our society, they're constantly in a constant state of stress all the time, around the clock. And these high levels of cortisol can release all sorts of crazy things happening in your body, like weight gain, high blood pressure, diabetes, brain fog, insomnia, difficulty sleeping at irregular hours or just any time, mood irregularities, impaired immune system, and low energy levels. So in the equine world, continuous high stress levels of cortisol, same within humans, can lead to Cushing's disease. So if you've seen if you've seen Samson, our rescue that we got from slaughter, he is the 18-year-old that has Cushing's disease. One of the things that immediately changed with his environment was he was removed from his stressful situation, and his Cushing's disease is getting way better. So that puffy coat and lethargy and depression and all of that stuff can lead to Cushing's. And a lot of people that have continuous high cortisol levels, they're also in these high stress situations on a continual basis, and so it leads to depression and anxiety and lethargy. So sometimes high cortisol levels can be because you've gone through some sort of cancer treatment in the past, or you've taken hormone balancing pills like prednisone. But what happens is when you've had these consistent levels of hormones of cortisol going into your system, what happens when you're actually faced with a potentially very stressful situation is your body does not respond as it should, because it's so used to dumping cortisol into your system on the regular that when you're actually faced with a situation, it has a very difficult time to respond, and you're not getting that proper release. So some of the ways that you can help your cortisol levels in your body be managed is sleep. Sleep is one of the best things that you can do. If you are getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep, it will help your cortisol levels reduce and be balanced out. The adrenals produce the cortisol, and when you are not getting enough sleep, your adrenals can't access your recovery hormones and your recovery building cells, and so it basically just in turn releases more cortisol. The best hours to sleep are from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. So especially for women, I mean, men can men can produce these recovery hormones all the time. Women have to access their adrenal glands, their adrenal recovery hormones. So it's essential for women especially to be sleeping from 9 to 12 a.m. And I know that's really tough with kids. I'm a mom of 3, and you get taking care of the animals. 9 o'clock is pushing it for me, but I try and always be in bed trying for sleep 9:30, 10 o'clock. So I get at least 2 hours of those recovery periods from 10 to 12 a.m. Those are your recovery hours. Another thing you can do is limit blue light, starting at around 7 p.m., 7:45 at night. If you cut off the blue light stuff, it's really going to help with your cortisol levels. Use a sleep mask. And another one, which is I know tough if you have kids and a family and routine and school sports and whatnot, is try to limit food consumption after 6 p.m. So some serious lifestyle changes can really help, and I know that all of them are not easier, Another thing you can try and do is go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time. It will help your neurotransmitters balance your hormones out. And another thing you can do is exercise first thing in the morning, and try not to do any workouts or physical stuff after 4 p.m. As you know, when you work out, you know, your body is enduring stress. So if you're working out hard after 4 p.m., your body is boosting those cortisol levels. Another thing is 1 cup of coffee a day. And another great way you can add that healthy cholesterol into your coffee is to blend your coffee with some organic coconut oil to help produce that cholesterol. And you can also produce, with more cholesterol intake, you're getting that natural boost of testosterone intake. And testosterone is one of the things that make us feel good. And it also helps support our adrenal health. So this is a big one that can hugely help your cortisol levels. Stop drinking alcohol. It is a major factor in high cortisol levels. It's stressful on your body. Smoking cigarettes, obviously, and alcohol, 2 really harmful things to your health. I used to be a heavy drinker, and I went through, you know, the journey of cancer and everything like that, and now I don't drink at all. And it's been the best thing I've ever done, but it is a very hard thing for your body to produce for your adrenals, and it's a really sure way of getting high cortisol levels into your system. And then if you can, change your bedroom lights to red light. That's another quick tip to reduce your cortisol levels. Changing those bedroom lights, and then also turning off your phone. I would also suggest turning off the router, the internet in the home at 9 p.m. Ours is on a timer. I would say 9:30 even, and go to bed, read a book instead. If you're having sleep issues, cortisol issues, hormone issues, any sort of health issue, turn off your internet at 9 o'clock, grab a book instead of turning on the TV, and try and hit that 9:30, 10 o'clock sleep hour recovery window. And yeah, turning off your phone is a huge thing. Great to exercise, but try not to push yourself so much. You know, studies have shown that women can have higher benefit of a hot bath in terms of balancing their cortisol and hormone levels rather than doing strenuous exercise for a period of time. So have a hot bath and get out for some really light walks every day. If you walk an hour a day, you'll lose weight, you're going to improve your fitness levels. And then another really nice, light, easy kind of workout is blood flow restriction bands. If you have any sort of joint bone issues, it's a really nice way to boost your muscle, which in turn burns fat, and you can really help your cortisol levels by not doing super strenuous workouts if you're having those issues. So blood flow restriction bands are something, I'll post another video on it. I use them all the time in my workouts, and it's a really nice way to kind of just pump up the muscles in that one area. And then Wim Hof breathing, meditation. If you are struggling with cortisol in your life, I can't stress enough the importance of a routine. Waking up, having a routine. You wake up, you meditate, you pray, you take part in some really nice light exercise. One of my favorite workouts is just doing the rebounder. It supports lymphatic drainage. I have a video on that you should check out. And but doing some sort of thing, having a connection to your spirituality and beliefs is a proven way of having a severe decrease in cortisol levels and balancing out your hormones. So having a routine, waking up. I'm a big Wim Hof breather. If you don't know what that is, Google it. I'll do a video on it as well. I think I already did. Wim Hof is spelled WHIMHOFF. Basically, it's a hyperoxygenated a way to get tons of oxygen into your system, which balances the neurotransmitters, can help you sleep, and it definitely reduces cortisol levels as it supports your adrenal health. So I do 3 rounds once a day, usually in the morning after I do my worship, or I have time with God, or I meditate and I kind of organize my thoughts, and I just do some deep breathing, and then I'm ready to go for the day. So it's a great way to reduce your cortisol levels if you're having issues with that. Also, it's important with stressful situations. We all have stress. In my own life, I've gone through many stressful situations, and it's important, once we go through a stressful situation, to just recognize them. Allow them to come into your head and, pass through them. You getting up? You okay? Pass through them, allow them to come in, and just recognize them, and don't dwell on them. Just say, yes, this happened and I'm okay now. And it really helps too with depression or anything like that, to work on the breathing, and all of that really helps cortisol levels. Here's another interesting tip. If you are an action movie junkie or a mystery movie junkie or something like that, what happens is your adrenals are activated and they are releasing cortisol into your system. So they're releasing all of this cortisol, and because of the stressful banging noise, the gunfires, the sirens, the yelling, the screaming, this is dumping cortisol into your system. What happens when you dump cortisol into your system is that your liver stops producing bile, the amount of bile that it would normally produce. So your digestion is affected. All sorts of things. Your neurotransmitters are affected. High cortisol, and you're in a constant state of cortisol. All of these things are affected. So watch what you listen to, watch what you watch. It's a big part of all of this. If you're putting yourself into a 2.5 hour movie, which is super stressful, and you're on the edge of your seat and you're biting your nails, that's going to result in high cortisol, high stress levels. So stay away from that stuff, and if you can, watch stuff that's making you happy or chill, or listen to peaceful music. Or if you are dealing with, I just can't get away from watching these movies or this series or something like that, do something afterwards to repair your system from the cortisol, like the things that we talked about earlier. This is a big one, removing unhealthy relationships. That's way more easier said than done, especially if you have kids involved in a situation, or a family or whatever it is. But when you can, try and put yourself in, surround yourself with kind people and people that are like you, that are taking care of your best interests, and that you can do the same with them. I'm not going to go too far deep into that. Everybody knows what happens when you have a bunch of toxic relationships in your life, and just let it go. They're not serving you anymore. That's another thing too, when you have a relationship with, God, or, whatever it is you believe in. Like me personally, in my life, I've gone through all sorts of stuff, and I just say, I'm giving this to God. It's not serving me anymore. It's not doing anything for me. Just give it away. I don't need it. And then I move on. I recognize it and I move on. Another really proven stress method is taking care of pets, taking care of an animal. Some people have shown statistics of stress reduction, cortisol levels in taking care of an animal that needs help, or actually a senior citizen. There's clinical studies based on that. When you take care of something like a pet or an animal or a senior, you have a reduction of stress hormones. And then another thing is just try and be your best. At the end of the day, when you're lying in bed, you haven't watched TV, you're getting into bed, you've, killed it with your family, you've been awesome, maybe you had a rougher time or whatever it is, just accept whatever you've done and love yourself for it. And be proud of yourself. I told the truth today when sometimes I would have lied. I tried to be more patient with my kids. I was, starting to get frustrated on the road, on the ride home in traffic, but I did some deep breathing and I calmed down. And, be proud of yourself and acknowledge those small wins, and And I believe that it helps with your cortisol levels and your sleep and everything like that. Try and just be your best. We talked about the spiritual elements and the direct relationship of cortisol with spending time meditation or prayer or anything like that, and having a series of beliefs. The other huge component for cortisol is stop eating sugar and processed foods. I know that one's hard, but if you're, on the go in the morning and, you're on the way to work and you're grabbing a coffee in a Starbucks, you're dumping in a bunch of caffeine into your system, but then too, you're filling it with like a refined carbohydrate, a sugar, and all of that stuff does not support your adrenal glands. So people who have high stress levels, who cut out completely or seriously reduce the intake of their sugar, have far higher results quicker for that cortisol reduction. So try and stay away from refined foods. Eat whole foods. Whole foods lower cortisol levels. Refined foods increase cortisol levels. And I try and eat foods with that give like a healthy gut biome. So I don't take any prebiotics or probiotics in pills. What I do is I just eat, kind of that live stuff. So I'm a big sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, jicama, and pickles to help with that bacteria. All of that stuff is all really bioavailable, and your gut biome will really thank you for it. And in turn, your adrenals will slow its cortisol release. So other things that you can do, some foods that you can add is dark chocolate is high in flavonoids and low in sugar. So that's something to help support that. Also 300 milligrams of ashwagandha a day can help reduce cortisol levels. And whole grains that are high in polyphenols like quinoa, buckwheat, oats, and wild rice. We eat a ton of quinoa and a ton of buckwheat in our house. Also beans, legumes, and lentils are really high in fiber, which supports your gut biome, which helps your adrenals, and in turn reduces your cortisol production. So what I do for those beans, lentils, legumes, I make sure and I soak them for about 12 hours in baking soda before I eat them. I rinse them a couple times, and then that gets rid of those lectins to just make sure that you're eating the best possible form of that food. A lot of beans, legumes get a bad rap these days. Dr. Gundry talks about them as, terrible foods to eat. And, if you're soaking them for 12 hours, it really helps to reduce those levels and make it a healthier, more bioavailable food for you. Also, green tea is a really awesome mechanism or something that you can consume to reduce those cortisol levels. It has L-theanine in it, theanine, and it will help reduce those cortisol levels. And it's just, instead of getting 120 milligrams of caffeine in a cup of coffee, a small cup of coffee, is you're getting just 60 milligrams, so it's a little healthier. And then increase your healthy fats, your nuts, your seeds, your avocado. Coconut oil is an amazing omega-3 and 6. And then dehydration is another thing that can really be a huge cortisol enhancer. So in your water, I did a video on Sole. Add a couple tablespoons of Sole. If you're drinking a big liter of water, I put at least 1.5 in there for the day to drink it. Or if I'm just kind of chugging a 6 to 8 ounce glass in the morning, I just put like a teaspoon of my Sole in it. 88 minerals, and really helps with hydration and all of that stuff. So that helps too. Also, our family is a huge advocate of red light therapy. So we do methylene blue before we get into the red light, or we take methylene blue before we get into the red light. I hit it twice a day, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night. And I just take methylene blue beforehand, and it really activates that. But if you don't have any form of red light therapy in your world, all you have to do is wake up in the morning and get outside for 10 minutes. And that will really help with your infrared and that absorption into your body. So take a walk, get outside for half an hour, 40 minutes, whatever you can. If you only have 10 minutes, that's great. Just get outside first thing in the morning and you'll be exposed to that red infrared light provided by the sun. And if you are actually serious about reducing your cortisol levels or just improving your health, there is a book called The Amazing Liver and Gallbladder Flush. And this book, you can actually flush out your liver and cleanse a bunch of stones out, and it will help increase bile secretion. And then in turn support your adrenals so that you're releasing proper hormones and neurotransmitters when you should. So I would recommend to everybody get that book, have a read. It's awesome. It's by Andrea Moritz or something like that. Moritz. And just have a read of that, and it's got some amazing tips in it. So yeah, so that's all about cortisol. I'll kind of maybe break it up into some smaller videos. If anybody has any questions, feel free to contact me. You can have natural cortisol level tests that are pretty inexpensive. You can go to a naturopath or thing for any sort of clinic for that. But also really just truthfully, you'll know if this is happening to you and if this is you, because you'll know how you feel, you know how you look, and a lot of the times that cortisol component is a huge element of how you feel and how you look. So yeah, stay tuned for more. Thanks so much for the follow, and yeah, if you want to see more videos on your health, that'd be great.